Good afternoon, and welcome to this last session of the Eyes on Earth online roadshow. My name is Linda van Duivenbode, and I am your host for this session. Yesterday and today, we shared a lot of information about the Copernicus system and services and the many applications it supports: emergency management, nature conservation, and detecting urban heat islands, just to name a few. This session provides information on how and where you can find support should you want to take an idea you have forward. And we do this session in collaboration with ESA Space Applications. ESA stands for European Space Agency. ESA big Business Incubation Center in Graz, and by company Audili, who is the winner of the BayWa Smart Farming Challenge as part of the Copernicus Masters competition, in sharing their experience. Now, during the presentations, you can submit your questions in the text box on your screen. Please keep your questions short, as the box allows us to see only a maximum of about 3 lines, so be very concise so that the presenters can read and understand your questions and to allow them to answer it. After each presentation, a selection of questions will be answered by the various speakers. And if you post something on social media, we would really like it if you use our hashtag EOE Roadshow. So first of all, I would like to introduce Mrs. Joana Kamenova, who will inform you about the ESA Space Solutions Network and the funding opportunities and mechanisms available to you. So Joana, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Linda, for the nice introduction. It's a real pleasure to be speaking at this session of how we can support companies. Let me just pull this presentation. So it's a real pleasure to be speaking to you today about how we can support companies with space data and space applications. So as Linda mentioned, um, I would be speaking about the ESA Space Solutions program. And I'm quite fortunate to be in the company of ESA Big Austria and Audili that will be speaking later on. So at ESA, the European Space Agency, we actually combine quite a lot of responsibilities across all areas of space. So starting from the exploration and the science, the human space flight, the space transportation, the technology, and all the adjacent services around this. So these present a plethora of opportunities for startups, for scale-ups, and for existing industry. But as they are excited and multiple, there are also a lot of complications of how do we use this and where do we start and what do we mean by company support. So as you can see on this slide here, in the very middle, we have the department that I am based in, Space Solutions. And this is in the middle because we are not only talking about this today, but also it combines all the other blocks around it. So Space Solutions is a program that can support any businesses from any size, whether it's from the space sector or from the non-space sector. And this is enabled by all the adjacent blocks around this. Some of the green ones, especially relevant for today, Earth observation, telecommunication, and navigation, but all the other ones also enabling successful space solutions. So what exactly do we mean by this? So we try to see ourselves in Space Solutions as the largest space innovation network in the world. We would like to be the go-to place for businesses to improve their everyday life. So how do we do this exactly? How do we support these European startups and SMEs to develop successful businesses? So we offer support in many different forms, and this would range from funding support to business support and to technical support. And today I would focus mainly in 2 points, which are company development and product development. So around this, we would offer zero equity funding, and this comes in a lot of different envelopes. It could range from 50K up to 2 million, depending on the activity. We would also offer, as I mentioned, technical support and commercial guidance so that these services are commercially sustainable. We also offer tailored project management support. And we don't stop here. Actually, some of our biggest assets are access to our international network of partners, access to our investor network, especially at the later stages with companies, and of course, the credibility of the ESA brand, which is also quite valuable in opening further doors for companies. And of course, we don't do this in isolation. So it's very nice today to have ESA-BIG Austria with us as well to further emphasize and explain this point. We would offer ESA support, but our ESA support within ESA Space Solutions is also enhanced by our very broad local network. So whether you're looking to incubate a company or to further develop a product, we have outposts in many of the European member states. In particular, for business incubation, we have 20 centers, and this would incubate in total 160 companies per year. And so far, we have supported a total of 800 companies in the European economy. And of course, we have the business applications pillar, which I would focus a little bit more on in the later slides. But this has also invested more than 200 million so far, and this is across 500 businesses. The business incubation part I would leave for the later presentations, but now I would like to focus a little bit more on business applications. So business applications program is particularly relevant to anyone working in the Earth observation domain, in the geospatial domain, but also, as all the other programs of ESA Space Solutions, relevant for companies that are actually not part of the space sector. So companies that can be enabled by space data and services. Business applications, it's a program that also focuses on the development of new products, so as opposed to the development of a company. So the development of a new product that are enabled by these space technologies. So whether this is satellite communication, satellite navigation, Earth observation, space weather, or human space flight. And quite often, actually, it's the integration of more than one of these applications and the translations of these applications into different domains that are traditionally not space sector. So you can see this just below, starting with smart cities, education, agriculture, really across the board. So you would have heard a lot today about the Copernicus services in different sections of these sectors. Of course, with this program, you can use the Copernicus services. You could use other free data, such as the Sentinel data, or you can also use commercial satellite data. So the program is technology agnostic and also sensor agnostic. So as long as you're utilizing a space asset, you would be eligible to apply for this program. And really, I mentioned already that it's integrating more than one of these technologies, but it's also integrating other technologies. And quite often, the satellite data, the Earth observation data might not be the showstopper in the application. Quite often, the showstopper might be a very well-scoped requirement in another sector, let's say healthcare, and a very, very good business case to support this. I have focused here on a few examples that you might have observed in the area of Earth observation. However, the difference with these ones is that they're a little bit more commercially focused and really honing down on the end user customer at the end of it. So the first example, JUICE, it's a greenhouse early warning system. So this example utilizes Earth observation data from optical data and radar data, and it also combines this with data from satellite navigation for location, and it provides information for early warning to greenhouse owners. So this information is related to subsidence and temperature. We have another example here. GrowWise. So this example is in the area of agriculture, and indeed, agriculture is a sector that has benefited a lot from Earth observation and the Copernicus services already. So this project is taking this a little bit further. So it's using Earth observation and weather data to provide advice to small farmers in terms of the progress of their crops, the yield, the productivity. But also it's linking this with microfinance and financial institutions. So providing the same information that the farmers are provided with, financial institutions, so that they can follow the progress and lend to farmers accordingly. Of course, to adapt their practices and lending in incidents of drought or flood as well. Another example, the last one on this slide, is EO for BELMAP, an example from Belgium. And this is actually a very cross-cutting Earth observation service. It's combining Earth observation data, both from freely available sources like Sentinel and higher resolution data from the commercial arena, with 3D visualization, and it provides intelligence across the board for many, many different stakeholders. So whether this would be monitoring of green fields or monitoring of building developments and the age of buildings, to monitoring of gardens and rooftops. So this would be information provided to different local authorities, to different facilities managers. So this is a really versatile service. So what does this mean for you, and how can you be one of these successful examples, especially in business applications? So within business applications, we have many opportunities tailored to different size projects and to different sectors. So the first one that I would like to share with you is on the theme of space-based services and applications for addressing the COVID-19 outbreak. And this is a demonstration call which would fund projects up to 2 million, and they would be around 50% funded by ESA. So we have had already one successful call on COVID-19 that was supported by the Italian Ministry of Innovation, and this is a follow-up call again for services that can tackle this. It focuses particularly on the healthcare and the education sector. So anything to do with telehealthcare or education from home. And you have the link so that you can explore a little bit in more detail some of the ideas are in this call. Another very good opportunity for entering the arena of business applications, especially for businesses that are non-traditionally space and are just looking to go into this arena or to launch a product that is using space data, or even just to explore a product that is using space data, is our funding calls under the Kickstart team. So these are also a very nice way of ESA to go into areas which we haven't really explored or we haven't explored in this way. So as you can see, the list here is quite long. These are usually funded around 80k euro, and you could get 80% of this funding by ESA. And the topics are quite wide. They range from worked on with natural disasters, so preparedness to natural disasters, connected rural communities, whether it's with the focus of mobility and tourism or safety and security. And then you can see that we have a team on commodities. These would be rolling out and focusing on different commodities. So the first one is on agriculture, the second one is on metal, and I think we have some more in the pipeline as well. And we have topics like PropTech, quite related to the Belgium example that I mentioned previously, on the shared economy, investment management, and marketing. So really, these are quite diverse topics. They're open for around a month or so, and they're just scratching the surface of what companies that are not working in the space sector can do and experiment with space data. Another set of funding opportunities that we have open at the minute is our feasibility studies, and they're slightly bigger than the Kickstart activities. They range from 150k euro to 200k per contract. And we have a few themes here as well: offshore energy decommissioning, plasticless society, and the path to post-COVID recovery. So as you can see, there are a lot of opportunities currently open, and they range from 2 million all the way to 50k. So they could be more experimental in terms of entering the space sector and any sector that is working with Earth observation data, or they can be actually opportunities for developing a full-blown service, a demonstrator, just before the commercial stage. Of course, we always try to improve our services and to go over the way we run competitions. So the previous models that I presented to you are very long-standing models within our program, within the Space Solutions program. Actors that are in this area are quite familiar with them. And based on feedback that we received with the processes around this and how we can improve, we have actually launched another opportunity called Aspire. And this is a pilot that we would run for the next 3 years. And the first one is starting to run very shortly. The idea here is to try a completely new way of applying to ESA very fast with 8 weeks from 8 weeks from application to contract. This is our target with improved accelerated delivery. So here the onus is a little bit more on the companies and trusting them that they would be able to manage this financing themselves. So less project reporting to ESA. And all of our projects are purpose-driven and aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals, but this one is doing so very explicitly. So here, very explicitly, we have a Sustainable Development Goal challenge to be tackled by this project. And actually, I think today, maybe in a parallel event, there is a little bit more around these initiatives, but we will be having more and more webinars on this to explain how this new process will work. And this would be in the area of 200K, and we would expect it to be funded 50% by ESA. So the other 50% would be the involvement of the company themselves. So actually, this is coming towards the end of my presentation. And in conclusion, I would just like to say that there are so many different opportunities, not only with business application, but also with business incubation. So very different opportunities across the various levels of company development, whether this would be a company that is just starting or an established player from another sector that is looking to use space. What is common with the entry points is that within ESA Space Solutions, companies can enter this sector and have the most appropriate help at the most appropriate level. I have my email address there, so if you have any more detailed queries, please feel free to drop me a line. And now I think I will just carry on to the questions page and see if there are any questions. So there is one question. Thank you for this, Linda. How much time and work is involved in preparing, submitting proposals for funding? What information do you need in advance? So this is a very good question. It would depend a little bit on the activities, whether this would be a smaller project like the Kickstart or a bigger project like the demonstration project. But preparing and submitting a proposal, we do have a lot of guidelines, and we do have help from our local partners. I would guess for a company really to go over the business case, they would have to spend they would have to do some research and spend some time to develop this. Perhaps in the in number of days, they could be able to prepare a good proposal. We have a mechanism that is called the activity pitch questionnaire, and there is a link on our website for this. And this is a very there. This is kind of a shortcut of an application, and you can maybe fill this in within 3 hours, and it serves as a blueprint for the proposal to ESA that you're going to submit later on. So with let's say 3 hour investment of your time, you could then speak to an ESA point of contact and see what else you can further develop and whether it is worth for you to invest more time in developing this information, this application. So the second part of the question, what information do you need in advance? So I guess it is key to first be aware of the opportunities that I mentioned. Also, every opportunity has a webinar attached to it. So I would advise attend the webinars. The webinars are very practical and they really go through the steps that you need to do before this. So one of them is registering on the ESA system. Another key step is also confirming with your national delegation that they would be happy to support the project. So this is quite practical, but every time ESA assesses a project, they would need a letter of support from the national delegation. So this is another practical step. So I would guess, I would say that looking at the opportunities, attending the webinars, and then if you're interested, checking with your national delegation, and then filling in one of the activities pitch questionnaires or the proposal templates. So this would be the key information that you would need in advance.
Thank you. I have two, because I don't see any questions in the chat, but I have two additional questions myself. One is, you mentioned this Aspire as a new funding opportunity that's, I think, now in the process of becoming online. Is there a particular target company you have in mind for this, or is it open from idea to scale up? Can you elaborate a little bit on that? And the second one, of course, ESA works through their membership countries, ESA members. That's not equivalent to the European Union. You have slightly different set of members. And because we are, we were supposed to be in Croatia for this roadshow. We are not now, we're online, but in case some Croatian viewers are watching, knowing that Croatia is not member yet of ESA, are all these opportunities open for them, or does that work differently?
Okay, so on your first question, sorry, can you? So I was focusing on Croatia. Can you remind me the first question?
How does Aspire? Do you target a particular type of company?
Yeah, so on Aspire, the target is SMEs. So of course, the Aspire funding is designed so that it is co-funded. So this would be 50% of the company and 50% of ESA. So it would be nice for the companies to be a little bit more confident in their business case, and this to be a topic that it's actually core for their business. So we are looking at we are looking at SMEs, at scale-ups, at existing companies that are looking to incorporate space within their applications and within their services. So a little bit more geared towards this. Yes, so Croatia unfortunately doesn't yet have access to these funding mechanisms under ESA Space Solutions, but this is something to be something to look forward to in the future. At the minute, their status within the European Space Agency is not such that they could benefit from these programs, but the first step is quite often a business incubation center, which we would hear a little bit more about later on. But usually within a member state like this, once they would have access to these programs, the first step would be opening one of these business incubation centers, where you would aim to grow the companies, to incubate them, and to start having this base of companies that can later on either apply to further ESA programs, or just develop commercially without the need of any more public funding, which is actually even better for us if they just go and be sustainably commercial at the end of this. So at this stage, we have 22 member states that are participating with these programs, and they have access to a variety of the ESA business of the ESA Space Solutions programs, whether this is the incubation or the business application side. So we would hope that Croatia soon will have access to this as well.
Yes, indeed. Thank you. So hopefully this conference helped them a little bit in decision making, also to become a full member of ESA. Thank you.
So thank you very much. So indeed, there is a lot of opportunities. So hopefully this will showcase.
Thank you so much for that, Joana. You had your email on screen, so I think if people want to contact you for additional information, they know how to do it. Of course, they can also always go to the ESA.int website, where there's a lot of information already available, as you said. So I'd now like to move to our next speakers, Mr. Jeremiah Hranjec, who is the coordinator for the European Space Agency Business Incubation Center in Graz, Austria. And that's a nice bridge because, of course, we said Croatia is not member, Austria is member, is a long-time member of ESA and has an incubator. So he will present the work of the incubation center, and then he will immediately be followed by one of the incubatees who's also a prize winner in the Copernicus Masters. So Jeremiah, over to you. No sound. Are you speaking already, Jeremiah?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, now I can, yes.
Okay. Can you also see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, perfect, thank you. So thank you for a really nice introduction. It's really nice to be in Zagreb, even virtually. So this is, as you said, it's a good occasion to be here as the part of the presidency of Croatian presidency of the Council of the European Union, because you all know that Croatia is the youngest EU member, but actually it's also the youngest country that signed the cooperation agreement with ESA just 2 years ago. So actually, this is important because ESA has now a formal collaboration with all EU member states. So, and I will talk, as Joana said, a bit more about the business incubation center. So we are actually dealing with the startups. We are the first step that you're reaching when you're going into the ESA's ecosystem. So at this point, there are 20 centers with more than 800 startups supported up to these dates. And at this point, we have a really good number of more than 160 startups per year. And this is making us one of the biggest incubation networks globally. So all of the business incubation centers in Europe are operated by national partners. And in Austria, this is the Science Park Graz, and it's the institution I'm working in. And this is one of the oldest incubators in Austria, with more than 200 projects supported. And at this point, we have 4 years of great achievements in ESA-BIC Austria, and we supported more than 30 companies. So startups that we are supporting are not only Earth observation startups, but actually all the startups that have what we call a space connection. So at the beginning of the ESA business incubation centers, these space connections was most visible in the transfer of technology. So the main idea was to transfer the technology that was developed by the decades of the development of ESA and scientific research to all other terrestrial sectors. So a lot of devices that we're using today are actually originated as a space technology, such as wireless headphones or laptop, and even airbag in shoes. So one of the companies that's incubated currently in ESA-BIC Austria is Blue Planet Ecosystems, and they're working on really interesting project. They're basically transferring the technology that was and know-how from ESA, from their project Melissa, into enclosed sustainable aquaculture system for food production on Earth. What we are also supporting, of course, is the navigation, which is at this point mostly connected to GNSS services within Galileo and EGNOS as European services for navigation. And the companies, we have quite a few companies here that are into this sector. But I would like to highlight the Artificial Intelligence, which is the company that was actually Galileo Masters overall winner for last year, and we are really proud of them. So what they did is they made optimizing operations for the airports and airlines in a really smart way, introducing artificial intelligence also. Of course, there's the satellite communication, which with startups in Europe, such as VIIB, which is not incubated in ESA-BIC, but it's still supported by ESA. And of course, Upstream, which is the companies that are launching some small parts or satellites into Earth's orbit or even further away. And of course, we have companies that are into this sector that are producing parts for the satellites. But there's also a really interesting startup called Team Tumbleweed, which is making next generation Mars rover, which is not only the idea, but actually it was already tested on Earth. And of course, there's the Upstream. Of course, there's the Earth observation, but we'll talk about the Earth observation a bit later. So what are we providing in ESA Business Incubation Centers? We're first and foremost providing really one of the biggest communities of startups, of high-tech startups on a global level. And we're also providing 50,000 euros of non-equity funding that can help you with your prototyping and or IP protection. We are providing the access to ESA expertise in terms of technical assistance. We are providing business assistance, reach to the global investors and opportunities arising from this network, such as events, competitions, and funds. Of course, the office space and really powerful branding that brings a bit more into credibility of a young company, which is really important for the companies, especially if they are entering new markets or going into B2C. And of course, let's talk about Earth observation, which is the main topic of this whole conference. So Earth observation is really important, and here we in ESA-BIC Austria, big chunk of our startups are actually in this sector, and it's really good. Sentinel satellites are really good in tracking environmental changes, but there's still huge unlocked potential in the Sentinel satellites in the commercial development. So some sectors that such as agriculture and insurance can be even more sustainable using the Earth observation techniques. So I will try to give you a brief overview of the Earth observation companies that are incubated in ESA-BIC Austria, because during my presentation, I saw as a feedback that people really like to know what kind of project can be incubated actually. So let's start with Sentinel Hub Value-Added Services, which is currently working on European Data Cube Facility Service project, which is gonna enable a bit more convenient manner of accessing the Earth observation data. And then we have the companies such as Refarmo, which is in the field management platform, and they're actually optimizing irrigation on a really smart way. And then we have a Cropom, which is also optimizing the use of fertilizer. So it's not only about making money and making new value chains, it's actually bringing sustainability into the agriculture and other markets. And then there's the LGN, which is using artificial intelligence in precision agriculture. And the UpDrones, which is our newest startup, just signed a few days ago, and they're using drones to tackle weeds in agriculture. We're really happy about this one. And of course, Audili, Armin will talk about their company a bit later, but they're winner of the Copernicus Masters Bio Smart Farming Challenge, which is really great experience for them also. And then we have companies that are not only in agriculture, such as Perigi, which is helping NGOs to have a better insight into humanitarian crisis, and Ice King, which is tackling climate challenge with the citizen science, and HIAD, which is exploring the potential of small hydropower systems. So what's the path actually of being incubated in ESA business incubation centers? All of the ESA business incubation centers have open calls, so everyone can apply, and submission deadlines for 2020 for our incubation center here in Austria are going to be on 11th of June, which is quite soon, and then the next one on 27th of October. So application procedure can be found on our web pages, and they're more or less the same for all of the business incubation centers. And if you're interested, you can of course also contact me. I'm also gonna just say a few words about the future of Earth observation and the trends that we identified working with startups in this field. So as you can see from this graph coming from the Copernicus market report, actually, if you combine defense and intelligence with public authorities, you can see that around 70% of the market is still not on a just for solely commercial purposes. So we think that there's going to be a huge growth, especially in this sector, because there's a huge potential in the use of high resolution data on other sectors. And there are, of course, new players coming from Europe, such as ESA, but we are expecting their number to grow rapidly. Of course, there's a huge buzz about the artificial intelligence, and also there's this trend of putting artificial intelligence on board, actually on the satellite, so you can evaluate the quality of the data on board of the satellite and not send the data, on example, if there's a cloud coverage, or just sending really real-time data about specific objects such as ships. And there's, of course, the emergence of new markets such as insurance, energy, maritime, and business intelligence, which I still think that's a bit underrepresented. If you've been tracking the markets, just 1 month ago there was a big oil price crisis, and there was big headlines about the Singapore costs packed with ships. And you can see here on these pictures is exactly taken from satellites that you could count number of ships, or you could actually see the oil tanks of crude oil being full because the prices of oil went really down, really fast downwards. And now we're gonna, at the end, talk about opportunities that are coming also from other programs such as Copernicus Masters, and we're gonna be talking about it a bit later. And then there's the Copernicus Accelerator and Incubator. You can learn more about this on the other session. And there are other opportunities such as ESA VIIB and farming by satellite and the Copernicus relay that you can actually contact in your country. And of course, we would like to invite you to join us in Copernicus Hackathon in Graz that we're organizing in October this year. We still don't know if it's gonna be a real hackathon or a virtual one, but in any case, we will try to tackle the most pressing challenges which are arising from year to year. And now I'm going to talk just a bit more about the Copernicus Masters. So at this point, there are 9 challenges provided by institutions or organizations such as ESA or DLR or Planet or BIVA. But also with these challenges, and each of them are actually tackling specific point. You can see that DLR is on environment or health challenge, and Planet is, of course, about using their data, and BIVA is about farming. And you can actually see here that there's not only the challenges provided by institutions, but there are the challenges provided by local partners. So I would just invite you, when you will be, if you will be applying for the Copernicus Masters, please pick one of the challenges that are representing you the best in regards to what your topic is, but also then pick the challenge of the country or the region that is closest to you. Because actually one of the things that you can get from winning these challenges is going to be the cash prize, but also business incubation and business coaching, which are going to be provided in the region that you selected. And of course, you can have a publicity and marketing support in this. And I'm sure that Armin is going to tell you much more about this, and he's really good experience and why to participate and what are the benefits of this. And I would just once again like to invite you to apply for the Copernicus Masters, which you can find on their web pages. And of course, if you will have any questions about the Masters or the incubation, or of course about the startups, because you can also work with a huge network of startups that are incubated or alumni in alumni network of ESA, you can contact me anytime. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremiah. I suggest we go directly into Armin's presentation because your stories are connected, and then take questions afterwards.
You can hear me and see my screen?
Yes.
Great. Okay. As Jeremiah mentioned, I'm Armin Schöpf. I'm a co-founder and current CEO of the startup Audili, which is currently incubated at the ESA Graz since April of 2019. And today I'm just going to talk shortly about what it is that our startup does and why we decided that Copernicus Masters 2019 was the right choice for us, and why I think it should also be the right choice for you. So, like many other startups, we started with a problem that we were aware of. Beforehand, we worked with some IoT devices that utilized low power wireless area networks for farmers. And while working, farmers often mentioned to us, okay, they have a problem. They need to know what parameters their soils has, what is their pH, what is their CE, what is my soil organic carbon. But the method that was offered to them, the traditional soil analysis that is conducted in laboratory, was just too slow, too expensive, and even the results were just for some points. So we thought, hey, maybe we can do something better here. Maybe remote sensing can help here. And it could. So currently, when soil is analyzed in a laboratory, often the principle of spectroscopy is used. Simply put, this means they just have a soil sample that they prepare and dry, and then the spectral reflectance is measured. And because we have a database of thousands of different spectral reflectances and their corresponding properties, we can simply estimate what the properties of this soil are without any chemical process. And we thought this can be done in the laboratory, and it can also be done with handheld sensors, we should try and transfer this knowledge, this technology from laboratory to space. And that is what we did. So we just applied the principle of imaging spectroscopy to allow the remote analysis of soil insights. And this is the technology that we developed, and the benefits are very clear for the farmer, except that it's not officially recognized. Everything else can really compete with the traditional soil analysis. But here's also our problem. We knew we had a great product. It can provide information to the farmer, but it is not really necessary maybe for the farmer. So we built a great technology, but what now? Is it just a business, or is it a product? Does it have any real market potential? And how do we get it out on the market? How can we build trust? Because the topic of remote soil sensing is very new. So how can people trust us? And of course, finding customers and also getting the funding necessary to develop this product to be ready for the market was also necessary. And exactly at this time, we just joined the ESA in Austria for 1 week, and Jeremiah was our partner to talk to, and he just sent us a short email. I would like to share Copernicus Masters with you. And then we just checked it out. Similar to this year, there were also a few partners. And the very interesting thing was we were in the farming sector, so we checked BayWa out. And they, of course, not only said, okay, we want something in the farming sector, but they specifically mentioned, we want something maybe in the area of pasture management, yield prediction. So we could go through every partner and see, okay, what are they looking for, and could we maybe use our technology to create this product? And of course, what was even more interesting for us is the feedback that we could gain from participating in this competition. Because every application, if you win or not, if you advance to the first round or not, will get some feedback. That was the case last year. And here, especially commercial viability and technical feasibility, where we really know, is there market potential or what should be changed? That was something for us where we knew, even if we didn't win, that would be already a win for us. And of course, I can't forget to mention there's a cash prize, satellite data, and in case of BayWa, the access to the sales personnel and field trails and all of those things that we would normally not have access to, or it would take us years to get access. So what were the steps that we took last year? So at first, the submission phase was just like this year, from April to June, and you submit. This submission is just registering to the database. You fill out some normal general information about you and your company, and then similar to other challenges, you might already know there's a short pitch. There's also maybe what can you do for sustainability, what for the environment, how much funding is needed. How far in the process are you? Is it just an idea? Is it an MVP? Is there already existing product? So that's interesting. And then those written applications were evaluated. And if you are one of the top candidates, you are invited to present your solution to the challenge partner that you're working with. After this presentation, the challenge partner will decide the top 3 in our case. They are then publicly announced, and the winner of those top 3 will then again be able to also participate in an overall evaluation presentation where it's decided which company wins the overall Copernicus Masters and not just the partner challenge. And then the winner of every challenge are invited to the award ceremony, which takes place each year at a different location. Last year it was in Helsinki in Finland, and also takes place at the same time as the Space Week. So it's also great for networking. And if, for instance, like us, you also partake in the Copernicus Accelerator, the Copernicus Accelerator took place at the same time as the award ceremony. So it's really great to combine both of them. And here you can just see a picture of the award ceremony. And what is really important and what the whole experience was about, it was not really about winning the prizes and getting in contact with BayWa just to get the exposure, but the whole process that happened afterwards. So it was not out and over after the competition ended, but after the competition ended, we started working with them. So it was really, we could share our in-depth knowledge, what were our problems, how could they help us, what are they developing on that's not yet public, how could we combine them? And of course, we could also get a lot of information, okay, what works commercially and what is just a nice product, which helped us a lot to now find the right direction where our product should be heading. And so all I can really tell you, the promises that Copernicus Masters makes with awesome prizes, the networking, and of course the feedback and the publicity, they're all true. And they're really the reason why you should also apply for Copernicus Masters this year. And the deadline is at the 30th of June, but it's at 12 a.m. and not p.m. So keep that in mind if you're a last minute person. But yeah, if you want, you can just head over to the website and register. It's really fast. But something even better that's happening this year is there are 13 additional prizes. So last year there were only 9 prizes. And this year you also have the country-specific prizes where you have additional chances. So if there are any questions, please let me know. And otherwise, you can always reach me under armin@audili.io. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Armin, for that. Amir, for that. I think Joana had a question for Jeremiah. I think this is probably yours, Joana. From a big perspective, are you still there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. Was that question from you for?
Yeah, this is from me. I think this is for kind of potential applicants to the BIG. What are your top 3 tips for them if they're looking to apply to an ESA BIG?
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Thank you for this question. I would also like to ask actually afterwards Armin if he has some tips for it. But basically, I think that the first point should always be contacting us. We are responding to everyone who contacts us, and of course we are having a meeting with them. So just contact should be the first step always. And then there's the importance of having a team actually, because team is, as for all other applications, team is really important. Also in this procedure. And the third one would be actually to go, if you're in Earth observation, you obviously have a space connection, but you should actually try to evaluate and learn about your market as much as you can at this point.
Okay, thank you. It's maybe also good to mention that the Copernicus and Galileo Masters are run by the European Commission.
Yes.
And so they're open to all EU member states, regardless of, so that's not related to the European Space Agency. And of course, European Space Agency incubators. You can apply for an incubator in any of the countries where there is one. And that's why in this case, we asked Austria to participate because it's close to Croatia where we were supposed to be.
Yeah, maybe just to add on this one and then maybe give a word to Armin about the tips. I see that we have some new questions. Basically, regarding the application procedure, you can apply in all of the ESA business incubation centers. You can also, of course, I would encourage you to apply for the business incubation center in Austria. And you don't need to have a legal entity in this country before the contract is signed. So you can apply and then you can be selected. And only then you should have, of course, the legal entity in the country of the ESA BIG. Yeah. Maybe just give words to Armin if you have some tips for the startups.
Of course, my tips are very similar to yours. So the most important thing for us was to contact ESA BIG before sending in the application so that we could really talk with the people. What is important in the application? What should we mention? And it's really the personal contact. It's not okay, you just have the website, you have to fill it out, send the email off and hope that some random person that you don't even know will say, okay, your business idea is the right one, but you should contact them beforehand and say, okay, that's my business idea, that's what I'm planning to do. And then they can give you some advice in that regard. And also, before applying, you can also reach out to startups in an ESA BIG. Often they're willing to talk about their experience, telling you, okay, maybe you should wait a bit for the next phase and really see, okay, is your business plan the right choice or not? And so my number one tip is really reaching out, talking to people before sending the application. And in the end, even if it's just an idea that you're applying with to ESA BIG, we also didn't have a finished product. It was really, okay, what do we want to accomplish and what is the team? Because in the end, if the team is a good one, you can always pivot still and yeah, it will still be successful.
I think Isabel has a question for you, Joana. Don't know if you can fully read it.
So I cannot fully read it. I can read the beginning. I say I want to grow my business and I want to apply for the ESA course showcased, but have no idea how to incorporate or use space data. What tips do you have for this kind of support, I guess? And then I cannot read the rest.
Yeah, what tips do you have for this kind of people? So yes. I guess it's a question of what should they do?
Yes, so what should you do? So I think this is, it's a very good question. And maybe building a little bit on what Jeremiah and Armin just said is, I guess the first step is, first of all, we have our website, which is business.esa.int. So you can check the course there. We have a few guides on to use on how to use Earth observation. So this might give you some general inspiration. We have a vast portfolio of projects that you might look at and see whether something inspires you. But as Jeremiah and Armin said, actually personal contact and conversations are much more valuable than just going through a website and doing this code. So within our ESA Space Solutions Network, for the business applications program in particular, we have also a network of business applications ambassadors. So we would have them for some countries and not in others, but you could find this out on the website. It's a pity I don't know Isabel's nationality and where she's based. But what these business applications ambassadors can do is they can speak to you, see what sector you're from, and see what kind of ideas you're already thinking about, and they can give you extra tips and recommendations. Okay, so maybe you would like to incorporate this type of data, or I can link you with this sort of expertise. And they can guide you actually through the whole process. So the idea generation, and then the process around how do we apply for ESA. So what are the different steps? So very similarly as it was outlined in the relationship between Jeremiah and Armin, but on a business applications level, where you would have an ambassador that can guide you through this process.
So really, the main tip I hear from all of you is don't just sit in your office looking at websites, hoping you'll find the right information or that information will come to you. Get out there. Isabel's based in Belgium, she says.
Okay, so this is perfect. So yes, in Belgium we have the business application ambassador. We also have a technology broker, which is another functionality, and we have the ESA-BIC. So Isabel, my contact details, joana.kamenova@esa.int. I can link you up with the ambassador there so that you can discuss some of your ideas.
Thank you. There's a question from Nicholas, which I think is most suited to Jeremiah.
Yeah.
Individuals, researchers without an incorporated company allowed to apply in the Copernicus Masters?
That's a really good point. Actually, of course, if you're an individual researcher or not even researcher without a company, you can apply for the Copernicus Masters, and you're encouraged to apply. And especially if you're a researcher, there's also one challenge that's called University Challenge, and its purpose is exactly for the students and the researchers to apply for this one.
Okay. Maybe some people joined later, so Joana already repeated her email, so joana.kamenova@esa.int. Can you repeat yours as well, Jeremiah?
Yeah, it's Hranjec. It's as you can see it here, my surname @sciencepark.at. You can also find our contact information on our web pages, sciencepark.at.
Okay, so Google, ESA, BIC, Graz, and they'll come to your website.
Exactly.
You can also ask questions to our, so the Eyes on Earth Roadshow email address, which is info@copernicusroadshow.eu. This is also mentioned in all the emails you have received and on the LITI registration page. So if you forget any of it, you can send an email to us. Say who the question is for, and we can forward the question to the right person. I had a question also for Armin. Maybe it's a bit cheeky. I participated in Copernicus Masters myself about 2 years ago. And the one thing you hear, and yesterday there was a session also about entrepreneurship skills. And they always say the first thing you need to do is go out and knock on doors, talk to people, so that you know that your idea has validity. There is a user for it or a market for it willing to pay. What strikes me, and I was in exactly the same situation when I did my startup, is that you have like a single idea that you pursue, and maybe this is also for Jeremiah based on your experience. Whereas, of course, quite often the customer, in this case maybe a farmer, is maybe not so much looking for a single solution, but for a range of information about the field and the crop and the weather. So there's a lot of single solutions, and are you at some point better off kind of having a strategic partnership, maybe with VIIB? Of course, you're lucky in this sense. So that was a question that I had also based on my own experience. And the second one actually for Armin was also, you talk about farming, but I know from having talked to someone in the water industry that, for example, textile manufacturing is incredibly polluting for the water and the soil around it. So there's a lot of contaminants around the water sources because, for example, in a country like Bangladesh, they will the textile production will use dyes, different dyes. They just run it off through water. It ends up in the soil. Is that something you could detect also with Earth observation or remote sensing?
Okay, I'm going to answer the second question first. So in the beginning, we're just focusing on some key parameters, which do not include those pollutants. And we also haven't looked into if they are possible or not. At first, we're really going for the basics, like soil organic carbon, what soil texture is it? And of course, soil texture would be interesting for the water holding capacity and also knowing, okay, how much fertilizer can I use and all of those limits. And for the first question, you're completely right. When you start, you have to knock on doors and ask, are you interested in a product? Are you willing to pay for it? And that's exactly why we wanted to do Copernicus Masters, because even if you're in a ESA peak, to be able to talk to the right people at VIIB or some other company as a small startup that is just working on a technology, has an MVP, knows I want to go in that direction, it's not very easy to get real feedback and okay. And in that case, it was really with Copernicus Master, we got the chance to talk with people and really hear the truth. Okay, they have already tried a similar product on their own, but it didn't work out because of that or that. What are we doing different? And you can't hear that otherwise.
Okay, thank you. I see a question came in. I don't know if anyone in this panel can answer it. Can you give some statistics, such as how many applications you receive for each Copernicus challenge?
I just wanted to try to find it in a booklet from last year, and there's some information here about it. But I've seen this information. I think it's public and it should be searched on the webpage. There's also the map with the countries. But basically, it should be available on the web. Yeah. If not, you can also contact someone from ASO, or you can contact me and I can connect you to the...
Yeah, I think actually a more important point is maybe, because this may have to do with, is it worth your while applying? I think I would invest my time more in trying to see if my idea is novel, because of course this competition has been running, actually the Copernicus competition has been running, I think for 5 or 6 years now, the Galileo much longer. So of course you need to check first that your idea hasn't been submitted or hasn't been awarded before, and not exactly the same anyway. And nowadays I feel that there's so many prizes in Copernicus Masters, with all the country ones and the regional ones and the topical ones, that I don't know if there's too many applications or too many prizes sometimes for the number of applications. But the point is, if you strongly believe you're solving something, if you have a good idea, then the statistics of submissions is not so critical, because the evaluators will look at how good or how novel is your idea. I mean, I get the same question with European programs like Horizon, award criteria and winning chance is not super high. But if your idea is really good, then you will stand out. Lucas said the audio is that bad. I'm sorry, Lucas, for that. I didn't get any of the names of website addresses to get in touch with. If you could display them screenshots. Ooh, can we do that? Maybe someone from the technical team can help with that. Can we screenshot some of how do we deal with this? Some from Load team, do you have suggestions on how we can display an email address so that people can actually take a...
I can just write it down in a document and share the screen, I guess.
Yeah. So I don't know how else we would... I can repeat the one for the Eyes on Earth Roadshow, which is in the emails that you have received over the last few days with information about the sessions. So that's info@copernicusroadshow.eu. And you can always use that for any questions. Because I don't think we have any way of direct communication with the people who are viewing this.
Okay, I'll just try to.
So there's a slight delay between what we see and what the viewers see.
I also just try to.
Excellent. How creative do we get? So, Lucas, I hope this helps you in quickly writing down some of the emails. Because I can well imagine that people have more questions, might come up later. Also, just for you to know that all sessions have been recorded. So yesterday there was an interesting session with the Center of Entrepreneurship, Erasmus Center for Entrepreneurship here in the Netherlands on skills with 3 startups and a panel session. Also sharing a lot of insights and information. There was a session parallel to this, which was also about some vouchers that are available for ideas and companies to start. And of course, this one, so you can always look back on the recording as well and try and, because then, of course, if you look at the recording, you'll have, for example, Joana's presentation where she shows her email address and you can pause and look back and listen back to some of the information given. I'll wait a little because there's a slight delay also in the refresh questions. Is there any more information that any of you would like to share at this point?
Yes, I can just say, if you're like Isabel or somebody starting out with remote sensing, Earth observation data, but you're just a normal programmer and you have no idea how to start, coordinate system, everything's so confusing. Where can I really get the Copernicus data from? Just look up services like Sentinel Hub, which was incubated at the ESA Austria, or even better, if you know, okay, I'm in the marine industry, I'm in farming, in agriculture, just look up thematic exploitation platforms, and there are platforms especially built for those use cases. There you don't really have to be a remote sensing expert. You just have to be able to do data science, a bit of programming, and you can already build your own custom remote sensing application.
Thank you. The Copernicus.eu website is also very helpful in listing sources of information, contacts that you can apply, webinars, hackathons. There are a lot of events that you can join at the moment virtually. I think there's one coming up, for example, that's organized by EuroZ, which is a European organization, which is nominally based in Cork, in Ireland, but is now also going online as a hackathon that you can also join in that case more easily, just to get acquainted with some ideas or meet some other people who might be interested in teaming up with you as well. Okay, I think then we've covered everything we wanted to say. We've answered the questions that have come in. Hopefully people have had enough information that they at least can go away and find us or find some of the sources that we have mentioned in this session to continue with their idea or company development. I would like to thank all 3 of you for your time, your preparation, your presentation, and answering the questions. And hopefully you will do well in your, certainly, Armin, you're in your endeavor to start the company, to take your idea forward, and hopefully meet again in the future. And so if there are no further comments or questions, I would like to close this session.